So today I'm going to be talking about transgender student athletes being able to participate in sports by Brandon Schroeder. So for the intro, I'm going to talk about young adults who want to participate in sports, Title IX, and how it's actually meant to be equal for all students. Then I'm going to analyze a couple of students' previous cases and how Title IX works and complies with them. Then a variety of legal cases and how it all pertains to Title IX and equality. The two pictures are equality versus equity. So equality is them all being given the same resource, and equity is them being put on an equal playing field. Then the Roman numerals stand for 9 as signifying Title IX. For the legal issues, schools must handle each case differently, but they all must kind of comply with Title IX and give all the students an equal opportunity to succeed, just as a moral thing. And then most sports policies are unfairly exclude transgender people from competing in sports as their requirements they place on them are not like specifically based on facts because they don't really have many cases to back it up on. And then a quote I found was until there is a consistent direct evidence demonstrating transgender people have an athletic advantage, it seems unreasonable to exclude them on the basis just of them being transgender, either as students in the classroom or specifically to pertain to sports. And later on, I will discuss a specific case I think that fits this very well. Um, then on the picture just says all gender Russian because not everybody is the same, but they all should be given equal access to opportunities. So the schools and how they react to Title IX, they need to, part of Title IX is them given the opportunity to allow all students to participate in any academic and extracurricular opportunities, and sports are part of the extracurricular part. An example would be girls being allowed to participate in football, since there's not typically a girls' football team at most schools. Um, and then another example, vice versa, would be boys being allowed to participate in a girls' volleyball team if the school does not have a male one. Typically, there's worse backlash against the male participating in a female sport because they're stronger and they should basically be participating in male sports. And then for the girls ones, especially football, there's a concern they could get injured and stuff like that. So Title IX specifically, I pulled a couple of quotes from my research paper. Title IX in terms of equity that can be achieved through a balance of male and female sports, so they must be given equal opportunity. The male shouldn't get any more advantages than the female, and vice versa, which it could be hard to evenly distribute it, but they need to try and make a conscious attempt to. Then Title IX is actually from 1972. It's an educational amendment to the 1964 Civil Rights Act, mandating that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation and be denied the benefits of or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving financial assistance, specifically like public schools or um, like recreational leagues through the cities and stuff. If the city and state and the government itself is funding it, it must be equal to all students and all people equally. So one of the people specifically, one of the cases was Mac Beggs. So he became a Texas state champion in girls wrestling while he had already transitioned to a male. And then he actually did go to court and he fought for this. He actually wanted to participate in the males wrestling, but the state of Texas would not allow it. And there was a documentary with him and I believe 2 or 3 other athletes with similar cases. His just was the most prominent, and it was just kind of messed up that the state wouldn't allow him to participate in the male, which was strange because he actually transitioned fully biologically and stuff like that. So he basically had an unfair advantage against the girls because he had more testosterone than all the girls did. Um, Most, if not all, individuals that have transitioned want to participate in the sport. They believe they should after they have transitioned, and he was no different. Then after high school, he wrestled in college against men for an NAIA school in Georgia. He's roughly 21, 22, so he's an upperclassman in college. I'm not specific sure if he's still wrestling or not. Um, so so how this affects our youth. So a large majority of the children feel neglected or wanted. If they are even straight students, gays, or transgender, all children struggle to fit in, and transgender students are no different. So one of the quotes I pulled and is also in my research paper is almost 3 in 10, roughly 30% of transgender youth have made some attempt of suicide, compared to less than 1/10, which would be roughly 7% of cisgender youth. These rates are significantly lower for white transgender and cisgender youth, which would be about 21, um, compared to some of the colored youth, which were a different number. Then the picture on the right is I love transgender kids, and like they love their kids no matter what, and that's really what we need to be focusing on is everybody's equal. Um, and I think a lot of the times parents are accepting of their children and want the best for them because they love them no matter what, but other scenarios they aren't. Then obviously if it's not your child, you may view the situation differently and you don't want your child to be at a disadvantage. And I think that's where some of the problems come from, like the academic part, participating in sports and stuff for school boards, which end up leading to other. So due for her not being able to participate in the sports, her and her parents ended up suing the school board because she had fully transitioned since they sued based on her sex not being is specifically clear that she has transitioned, and there's no reason for her not to be participating because it's not giving her equal rights based on Title IX. And she did end up winning, and then she is the girl pictured on the slide. So another case was um, in 2020, Selena Soul and Chelsea Mitchell, who were seniors in high school, them and their parents sued the school board um, for letting a transgender girl participate in spring track. But the transgender student only was participating. There was no action of her suing one way or another. And the girls actually ended up winning the case, which literally like just brought the movement of like equal rights and stuff for the transgender community kind of back and really hurt the area, I believe. And the girls did win, so it negatively affected the future of transgender athletes. So this was a bill, I believe I believe it was like they changed it in 2021. So I pulled two quotes that I entered into my paper, which I really thought backed up kind of how it fit in. So there was a failure of State High School Activities Association and school districts to sanction girls tackle football as high school sports did not violate Title IX. So basically, they need to just at least allow females to participate in the sport. And it's kind of up to the discretion of the coaches if they deserve to play and kind of like make sure that they're safe and not getting injured. And there's a disparity between boys and girls who play high school football largely because the males have been given that opportunity from the time they were really young, and the evidence some degrees of unmet interest in girls tackle football, since there's just less interest, so they need to either make some sort of accommodation to allow girls to play, or if they should create maybe a different type of league for girls to play. A potential one is like a 7-on-7 light tackle football league for the females, just because if they want to still participate in tackle, that gives them the option, but there's less people. Since there's less interest, it just makes it safer and makes the athletes not be as basically there doesn't have to be as many athletes playing because there's less interest. It's kind of a supply and demand kind of thing. So I try to compare some of the cases. All three cases kind of interlinked together in one way or another, because they were all athletic based and trying to make equal rights long term, except for one kind of like backfired. So BBJ sued the school and won, to allow her to participate in track and cross country. The Solon Sanucci won. The girls ended up winning, not allowing the other transgender athlete to participate. And then the final one was girls being allowed to play boys-specific tackle football during school, since the girls don't have an equivalent, or if they want to, suggestion is creating some sort of league for the girls. But for my conclusion, this analysis of transgender in sports is centered around Title IX and the coverage students participating in extracurricular activities. Mac Baggs, who is a young student who transitioned from a female to a male, was able to win the Texas State girls wrestling due to the Texas not allowing him to wrestle men who he had transitioned to, while he even wanted to transition and play for the men or against the men. Then the importance of young people and how they need to feel accepted. Otherwise, there's other problems of them trying to commit suicide, actually committing suicide, or self-harming, or looking for some sort of way out. Then the cases, the two cases, and then the bill. Then the analysis had the intention of opening the minds to how transgenders must be treated as equals to all their other male and females, also with the concordance of Title IX. That is all.